The Haven drifted silently in orbit above the war-torn planet of Krylos, its pristine white hull marked with the universal symbol of medical aid glowing softly under the light of a distant star. Inside, the ship buzzed with quiet efficiency. Doctors, nurses, and medics moved through the corridors, tending to the wounded from both sides of the brutal conflict below. The ship was a sanctuary, a place where the horrors of war were met with compassion and care. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's captain, stood on the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the planet below. The scars of battle were visible even from space. Cities reduced to rubble, forests burned to ash, and rivers running red with blood. Yet, amidst the devastation, the Haven stood as a beacon of hope, a testament to humanity's unwavering commitment to peace. The ship's AI, Aegis, broke the silence with a calm, measured voice. "Captain, we've received another wave of casualties from the surface. Mostly civilians this time, including children." Elena's jaw tightened. She had seen too much suffering already, but she knew there was no other choice. "Prepare the medical bays," she ordered. "We'll take them all." The crew sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced. They had done this countless times before, but the weight of each life saved or lost never grew lighter. Hours passed as the Haven worked tirelessly to stabilize the wounded. The ship's halls were filled with the soft hum of machinery and the occasional murmur of comfort from the medical staff. Among the patients were soldiers from both sides of the conflict, their uniforms stripped away to reveal the shared vulnerability beneath. Elena moved from bed to bed, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. She believed in the mission of the Haven, in the idea that even in the darkest times, there was still room for compassion. But the peace was shattered without warning. The ship's alarms blared as Aegis detected incoming projectiles. "Captain, we are under attack," the AI announced, its voice tinged with urgency. Elena's heart raced as she rushed to the bridge. The view screen showed a fleet of alien warships, their weapons trained on the Haven. "Open a channel," she demanded. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human hospital ship Haven. We are a non-combatant vessel providing medical aid to all. Cease fire immediately." The response was cold and unyielding. A harsh voice crackled over the comms. "No mercy for those who aid our enemies." Before Elena could respond, the alien fleet opened fire. The Haven shuddered violently as the first volley struck its shields. "Evasive maneuvers." Elena shouted, but it was too late. The shields buckled under the relentless assault, and the ship was rocked by a series of devastating hits. The lights flickered, and the air filled with the acrid smell of burning circuitry. The crew fought valiantly to keep the ship operational, but the damage was severe. Medical bays were reduced to chaos as equipment failed and patients cried out in pain. Elena struggled to maintain her composure as she coordinated the emergency response. "Get the life support systems back online," she ordered, "and send a distress signal to Earth. They need to know what's happening here." The distress signal was sent, a desperate plea for help that carried the weight of countless lives. As the Haven drifted, crippled and vulnerable, Elena couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. The ship had been a symbol of humanity's best qualities, compassion, selflessness, and hope, and now it lay broken, a victim of senseless violence. On Earth, the signal was received with shock and outrage. The United Earth Fleet, a formidable force that had remained in reserve, was immediately mobilized. Leaders from across the planet convened in an emergency session, their faces grim as they reviewed the details of the attack. The decision was unanimous. "They will learn why humanity does not wage war lightly," one of the leaders declared. "Send the fleet." As the human warships prepared for departure, the crew of the Haven continued to fight for survival. Elena stood amidst the wreckage, her resolve unshaken. She knew that Earth would respond, but she also knew that the cost of this conflict would be high. The attack on the Haven was not just an assault on a ship. It was an assault on everything humanity stood for, and Earth would answer. The United Earth Fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system, a formidable array of warships gleaming under the light of a distant sun. Admiral Kaito Nakamura stood on the bridge of the flagship, resolute, his sharp eyes scanning the holographic display of the fleet. Each ship was a marvel of human engineering, bristling with advanced weaponry and shielded by cutting-edge technology. But it wasn't just their firepower that made them formidable. It was the resolve of the men and women who crewed them. The attack on the Haven had struck a nerve, not just among the military, but across all of humanity. This was no longer just a mission of retaliation. It was a statement of principle. Nakamura addressed the fleet, his voice steady and commanding. Today, we fight not for conquest, but for justice. The Haven was a symbol of our highest ideals, compassion, neutrality, and hope. Those who attacked it sought to extinguish that light. But they have made a grave mistake. They have shown us the face of their cruelty, and now they will see the strength of our resolve. We go not as conquerors, but as protectors. Let them remember this day, and let the galaxy know that humanity does not stand idly by when the innocent are harmed. The fleet's AI systems hummed to life, coordinating the complex logistics of the journey. Hyperspace calculations were finalized, and the ships aligned themselves for the jump. The tension on the bridge was palpable, but there was no fear, only determination. Nakamura, second in command, Commander Li Wei, approached him as the final preparations were made. "Admiral, the fleet is ready. All systems are green. We're waiting on your order." Nakamura nodded. "Make the jump." The fleet surged forward, disappearing into the swirling vortex of hyperspace. The journey was brief but tense, the crew acutely aware of the stakes. When they emerged, the war-torn system of Krylos came into view. The alien fleet was still there, their ships hovering menacingly near the crippled Haven. The sight of the hospital ship, its hull scarred and lifeless, sent a ripple of anger through the human fleet. Nakamura's jaw tightened as he studied the enemy formation. They were outnumbered, but the alien ships were larger and more heavily armed. This would not be an easy fight. The alien fleet reacted quickly, their ships turning to face the new threat. A transmission came through, the same cold voice that had dismissed the Haven as "Please. Human fleet, you are trespassing in sovereign space. Withdraw immediately or face annihilation." Nakamura's response was calm but firm. "This is Admiral Kaito Nakamura of the United Earth Fleet. You attacked a hospital ship under our protection, an unprovoked act of aggression against a neutral vessel. You have one chance to stand down and surrender. Refuse, and we will respond with force." The alien commander laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You are outmatched human. Your ships are weak, your technology inferior. You will regret this foolishness." The transmission ended, and the alien fleet opened fire. The human ships reacted instantly, their shields flaring as they absorbed the initial barrage. Nakamura's voice rang out across the fleet. "All ships engage, target their weapon systems, and disable their shields. We take them down, but we do not destroy unless necessary. Let them see the difference between their cruelty and our restraint." The battle was fierce, the void of space lit by the flashes of energy weapons and the explosions of crippled ships. The human fleet's AI systems coordinated their movements with precision, weaving through the chaos to strike at the enemy's weak points. The alien ships were powerful, but their tactics were predictable, their commanders overconfident. The human fleet exploited every opening, their superior tactics and coordination turning the tide. Nakamura watched as the Resolute S railguns tore through an alien cruiser's shields, disabling its engines. "Focus fire on their flagship," he ordered. "Take out their command and control. Let's end this quickly." The flagship was a massive vessel, its hull bristling with weapons and shielded by layers of energy. But the human fleet's experimental weapons proved their worth. A concentrated barrage of plasma torpedoes breached the flagship shields, and a well-placed shot from the Resolute S main cannon crippled its propulsion systems. The alien fleet began to falter, their formation breaking as their flagship drifted helplessly. Nakamura opened a channel to the alien commander. "This is your last chance. Surrender, or we will be forced to destroy your fleet." The response was silence, followed by a single, defiant shot from the flagship's remaining weapons. Nakamura sighed. "Very well. All ships, target the flagship's weapons and engines. Disable it completely." The final volley tore through the alien flagship, leaving it dead in space. The rest of the alien fleet, now leaderless and outmatched, began to retreat. Nakamura allowed them to go, his focus shifting to the Haven. All ships secure the area. Medical teams prepare to board the Haven. Let's get them the help they need. As the human fleet moved to assist a crippled hospital ship, Nakamura allowed himself a moment of reflection. The battle had been won, but the cost was high. The Haven-S crew had paid a heavy price for their compassion, and the alien fleet's aggression had forced humanity to respond in kind. But Nakamura knew this was not the end. The galaxy was watching, and humanity's actions here would echo far beyond this system. They had shown their strength, but they had also shown their restraint, and that, Nakamura believed, was a message worth sending. The alien flagship drifted lifelessly, its once imposing silhouette now a broken hulk against a backdrop of stars. The human fleet maintained a cautious perimeter, their weapons still trained on the retreating remnants of the alien armada. Admiral Kaito Nakamura stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his gaze fixed on the crippled Haven. The hospital ship's lights flickered weakly, a stark contrast to the vibrant beacon it had once been. "Status report," Nakamura demanded, his voice cutting through the tense silence. Commander Liwei stepped forward, her expression grim. "The Haven-S life support systems are barely functional. Casualties are high, and their medical bays are overwhelmed. Dr. Vasquez is alive but injured. She's coordinating what's left of her crew to stabilize the most critical patients. Our medical teams are en route to assist." Nakamura nodded, his jaw tightening. "Prioritize the Haven. I want every available resource directed towards saving lives. And get me a damage assessment on the alien flagship. I want to know if there are survivors." The bridge crew worked swiftly, their movement precise despite the lingering tension. The alien flagship systems had been thoroughly disabled, but scans indicated faint life signs aboard. Nakamura considered his options. The ship was a potential treasure trove of intelligence, but boarding it carried significant risk. "Prepare a boarding party," he ordered. "Heavily armed and shielded. I want that ship secured." The boarding party, led by Lieutenant Marcus Cole, moved cautiously through the derelict alien vessel. The interior was a maze of darkened corridors and flickering lights, the air thick with the acrid smell of burnt circuitry. The aliens they encountered were either dead or too injured to resist, their once proud forms now broken and defeated. Cole's team pressed on, their focus on the ship's command center. When they reached the bridge, they found the alien commander slumped in his chair, his once imposing figure now frail and bloodied. He glared at the humans with a mixture of defiance and despair. "You think you've won," he rasped, his voice weak but laced with venom. "But this is only the beginning. Your compassion will be your downfall." Cole ignored the taunt, securing the commander and his surviving officers. "We're not here to gloat," he said coldly. "You'll answer for what you've done." Back on the Resolute, Nakamura reviewed the data recovered from the alien flagship. The ship's logs revealed the extent of the alien fleet's brutality. Not just the attack on the Haven, but countless other atrocities committed in the name of their war. The commander's words echoed in Nakamura's mind. "Your compassion will be your downfall." He shook his head, dismissing the thought. Compassion was not a weakness. It was humanity's greatest strength, but it had to be tempered with resolve. The medical teams worked tirelessly aboard the Haven, their efforts a testament to the very ideals the ship represented. Dr. Elena Vasquez, despite her injuries, refused to rest. She moved from patient to patient, her presence a calming force amidst the chaos. When Nakamura contacted her, her voice was steady but weary. "We've stabilized most of the critical cases, but we've lost too many. This didn't have to happen." Nakamura's expression softened. "I know, but we've stopped them, at least for now. The alien fleet is in retreat, and their commander is in our custody. We'll make sure they answer for what they've done." Vasquez nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of grief and determination. "Don't let this change who we are, Admiral. The Haven is a symbol of what humanity can be. Don't let their cruelty extinguish that." Nakamura's resolve hardened. "It won't, but they need to understand that there are consequences for crossing us. We'll show them our strength, but we'll also show them our mercy. As the fleet began the long process of securing the system and aiding the survivors, Nakamura turned his attention to the broader implications of the battle. The alien commander's words hinted at a larger conflict, one that humanity might not be able to avoid. But for now, they had sent a clear message. Humanity would not stand idly by while the innocent suffered. And if the galaxy took notice, so be it. The Haven, though battered and broken, still stood as a beacon of hope. Its lights, though dim, continued to shine, a reminder that even in the darkest times, compassion and courage could prevail. And as the human fleet prepared to return home, Nakamura knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and humanity's place within it was still being written. But one thing was certain. They would face whatever came next together, with strength and unity. The Haven, as repairs were underway, its scarred hull slowly being restored to its former glory. The human fleet remained in the system, their presence a stabilizing force amidst the chaos left by the battle. Admiral Kaito Nakamura stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, his eyes fixed on the hospital ship. It was a symbol of resilience, a testament to humanity's ability to endure and rebuild. But the cost of this victory weighed heavily on him. The lives lost, the sacrifices made, they were a reminder of the price of standing firm in the face of cruelty. The alien commander, now a prisoner aboard the Resolute, had been interrogated extensively. His defiance had not wavered, but the information extracted from him painted a grim picture. The attack on the Haven was not an isolated incident. It was part of a broader strategy to crush any semblance of neutrality in the war. The alien species, known as the Krylos Dominion, viewed compassion as a weakness to be exploited. They had underestimated humanity, and it had cost them dearly. But Nakamura knew this was far from over. The Dominion's retreat was temporary, and their thirst for conquest remained unquenched. On the surface of Krylos, the human fleet's presence had begun to shift the balance of power. The planet's inhabitants, once caught in the crossfire of a brutal war, now looked to humanity as protectors. Medical teams in the Haven worked alongside local healers, their efforts a beacon of hope in a land ravaged by conflict. Dr. Elena Vasquez, though still recovering from her injuries, had become a symbol of humanity's compassion. She moved among the wounded, her presence a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was still room for kindness. Nakamura visited the surface. His arrival met with a mixture of awe and gratitude. He walked through the makeshift camps, his heart heavy with the weight of what he saw. Children with hollow eyes, families torn apart by war, and cities reduced to rubble. It was a stark reminder of the stakes. He met with local leaders, their voices filled with both hope and fear. "We have suffered for so long," one of them said, "but your presence gives us hope. Will you stay?" Nakamura's response was measured but firm. "We will do what we can to help you rebuild. But this is your world, and your future must be in your hands. We will stand with you, but we cannot fight your battles for you." The message was clear. Humanity's role was not to dominate, but to empower. The fleet's engineers worked to restore critical infrastructure, while medical teams continued to treat the wounded. The Haven, though still undergoing repairs, had resumed its mission, its lights shining brightly once more. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when compassion and strength were united. Back aboard the Resolute, Nakamura convened a meeting with his senior officers. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Krylos Dominion would regroup, and their next move was uncertain. "We need to be ready," Nakamura said. This was a victory, but it was also a warning. The Dominion will not stop unless they are forced to. We need to strengthen our alliances and prepare for what comes next. Commander Liwei nodded. The other species in this region have been watching. They've seen what we're capable of, but they've also seen our restraint. If we can build a coalition, we might be able to deter the Dominion from further aggression. Nakamura agreed. "Reach out to them. Let them know we stand ready to defend not just ourselves, but anyone who values peace and freedom. But make it clear, we will not tolerate acts of cruelty or aggression. The attack on the Haven was a line they crossed, and they will not cross it again." As the fleet prepared to depart, Nakamura took one last look at Krylos. The planet was still scarred, but there were signs of hope, New construction, the laughter of children, and the determined faces of those who refuse to give up. The Haven S light shone brightly in orbit, a beacon of humanity's ideals. It was a reminder of why they fought and why they would continue to fight. The journey back to Earth was a time for reflection. The crew of the Resolute had been tested, and they had emerged stronger. But Nakamura knew the challenges ahead would be even greater. The galaxy was vast and filled with both allies and adversaries. Humanity's place within it was still being defined, but one thing was certain. They would face the future with courage and unity. As the fleet entered hyperspace, Nakamura allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of, not just in battle, but in compassion and resilience. The Haven S mission would continue, and so would theirs. Together, they would light the way forward, no matter how dark the path might seem.